Tales of Tomorrow, where the future of storytelling comes to life.
Welcome to Tales of Tomorrow, where we bring you spine-tingling stories from beyond the realm of the known. In today's episode, we present a bone-chilling tale of a haunted doll that terrorizes a family. So sit back, turn off the lights, and get ready to be scared. Once upon a time, there was a family who loved nothing more than scouring yard sales and thrift shops for hidden gems. They lived in a small town where the weekends were reserved for exploring garage sales and second-hand stores. It was a hobby that the family had shared for years, and they had amassed quite the collection of antiques and curiosities from various eras. One sunny Saturday morning, they stumbled upon a vintage doll that immediately caught their eye. It was old and worn, with curly blonde hair and a frilly pink dress. The doll had an eerie presence about it, as if it were alive and watching their every move. Despite its unsettling aura, the family knew it would make the perfect addition to their collection. As they purchased the doll, the family couldn't help but notice the strange looks they received from the seller. It was as if the seller knew something they didn't. Ignoring the unease, they eagerly took the doll home, excited to add it to their collection. However, as soon as they brought the doll home, strange things began to happen. The family would wake up in the middle of the night to the sound of the doll giggling, even though no one was playing with it. They would find it in different positions and places than where they had left it, and sometimes it seemed like its eyes were following them around the room. Despite the unnerving occurrences, the family remained fascinated by the vintage doll. They couldn't resist studying it, admiring its craftsmanship and wondering about its history. But little did they know, their curiosity would lead them down a path of terror and malevolent forces beyond their understanding. At first, the family tried to ignore the strange occurrences that seemed to happen whenever the doll was around. They assumed it was just their imagination, or that one of the kids had moved the doll without telling anyone. But as the incidents became more frequent and more unnerving, they realized they couldn't ignore it any longer. The doll's hair seemed to move on its own, and sometimes the family would hear it whispering in a child's voice, even when no one was near it. Other times, they would find it in rooms that they knew they hadn't put it in, or it would be in a different position than where they had left it. Once the family woke up to find the doll sitting at the foot of their bed, its glass eyes seemingly fixed on them. They could feel its malevolent presence even from a distance, as if it were watching them with an unnatural hunger. It was as if the doll had a life of its own and was determined to make its presence known. As the family delved deeper into the doll's history, they discovered that it had been sold at an estate sale after its previous owner had died. The family that had bought it had reported strange occurrences as well, but they had chalked it up to coincidence or their own imaginations. They had eventually given the doll away, and it had passed through several hands before ending up at the yard sale where the family had found it. But the more the family learned about the doll's past, the more convinced they became that it was indeed haunted. They could feel a palpable sense of unease whenever the doll was near, and they knew that they needed to get rid of it before something even more sinister happened. Despite their attempts to give the doll away, it kept finding its way back to their home. It was as if the doll was refusing to be removed from their lives. The family started to feel trapped, unable to escape the doll's malevolent influence. They tried burning the doll, but it wouldn't catch fire no matter how hard they tried. It was as if the doll was protected by some unseen force. They were desperate for a solution, and that's when they decided to seek out the help of a paranormal investigator. The paranormal investigator arrived at the family's home and listened patiently as they described their experiences with the haunted doll. The investigator took notes, asked questions, and examined the doll closely. Finally, the investigator confirmed that the doll was indeed possessed by the spirit of a little girl who had died tragically in a house fire. The investigator explained that the only way to release the little girl's spirit from the doll was to perform a ritual involving prayer and salt. The family was skeptical but also desperate, so they agreed to go through with the ritual. They had to try anything to rid themselves of the doll's malevolent presence. The ritual took place in the family's living room, with the investigator leading the way. The family watched nervously as the investigator sprinkled salt around the doll, reciting prayers and incantations as she went. As the ritual progressed, the doll began to shake and convulse, as if struggling to resist the forces at work. The family watched in terror as the doll's eyes glowed red, and its head spun around 360 degrees. They could feel a sinister energy emanating from the doll as the ritual continued, but the investigator remained calm and focused, repeating the prayers and sprinkling the salt with precision. Finally, with one last prayer, the ritual was complete. The doll went still, and the room was filled with a sense of peace that the family had not felt in months. They knew that the little girl's spirit had been released and that the doll was no longer haunted. The family sighed with relief and thanked the investigator for her help. They had finally been freed from the doll's malevolent influence. They decided to donate the doll to a museum where it could be studied and kept away from unsuspecting families. From that day forward, the family never looked at antique dolls the same way. They had learned that some things are better left untouched, and that there are some mysteries that are better left unsolved. The story of the haunted doll is a classic example of how even the most innocent-looking objects can harbor dark secrets. It is a reminder that some mysteries are best left unsolved, and some things are better left untouched. We hope this tale sends a chill down your spine and makes you think twice before bringing home a vintage doll from a yard sale. And that concludes our tale of the haunted doll. We hope you enjoyed this creepy story from beyond the realm of the known. Stay tuned for more tales from Tales of Tomorrow.